name's Charlotte. I'm commissioned by South Gloucestershire Council to deliver the multi-agency Raising Safeguarding Concerns training. We've put together the short film for you, an introduction to safeguarding adults, to give you some of the key points around safeguarding until you're able to attend the multi-agency safeguarding adults training. This film doesn't replace the training, it's just to give you a few key points until you're able to attend the training. All the information that we're talking about today you'll find in your organisation's Safeguarding Adults policy. It's also in the multi-agency Safeguarding Adults policy and in the Safeguarding Adults Board Safeguarding Adults Guide for people raising safeguarding concerns. And I'll tell you where you can find those documents a bit later in this film. So, what is safeguarding? Well, it's about protecting an adult's right to live in safety, free from abuse and neglect. And it's about people and organisations working together to prevent and stop the risks and experience of abuse or neglect. Okay. But what's really important when we're talking about safeguarding is making it personal, involving the individual with the safeguarding concerns, finding out how they want to be involved, but also finding out what the outcome that they want from the safeguarding concern. It's all about having regard to their views, wishes, feelings and beliefs and taking any action. So who is that adult at risk? And again, you will find this definition in our policies, and it's one of those sort of key bits of information that's really useful for you to know. Safeguarding duties apply to anybody that has care and support needs, anybody that's experiencing or at risk of abuse and neglect, and as a result of their care and support needs, they're unable to protect themselves. So if somebody says something to you, you're concerned about it, you don't know what to do with that information, these three statements are what we call the statutory requirements for safeguarding adults. However, I don't want you to worry about that if you see something or somebody tells you something, whether the statutory requirements have been met. If you see something, you hear something, you're not sure what to do, our message is make sure you tell somebody and write it down. And South Gloucestershire Council safeguarding team really do encourage you to give them a ring and talk through your concerns, and then they can guide you through the process and the next steps. This next slide gives you the 10 types of abuse that are identified in safeguarding adults, and you will find more information about these types of abuse in your Safeguarding Adults policies, but also in Appendix 1 of the multi-agency policy gives you examples and what you might see with these different types of abuse. Again, if you see something, if somebody tells you something, if you're worried about anything, I don't want you to worry about what type of abuse has happened to that person. If you see something, you're not sure, make sure you tell somebody and write it down. But what is abuse? Again, in our multi-agency policies and in your safeguarding adults policies, there will be a definition about what abuse is. And so things to think about. It can be a single or repeated act. It might only happen once, but it's still abuse and we still need to report it. Or it might be happening repeatedly to either the same person or a group of individuals. It may be intentional or unintentional. The perpetrator may know that they're abusing that person, they're taking advantage of that adult at risk. But sometimes what happens is things happen and people do something for the very best of intentions, they think they're doing the right thing, but actually by doing that it still causes harm and abuse. It's unintentional, but we still need to report it and record it. And it could be through a lack of knowledge. Sometimes we don't know what we don't know. Again, like I said earlier, the Safeguarding Adults team really encourage us to have discussions with them. If we see something happens, we're concerned, so they can help guide us through those next steps. So what are we going to do if abuse is disclosed or suspected to us? And I call this my R's. Yeah. Our first thing we need to do is respond to that allegation. Okay. And depending on the seriousness, will depend on how we react, how we respond. If there's an emergency, please do call 999. Make sure you keep yourself and the people we're supporting safe. It may be that response is to work with the individuals, find out what they want to happen as a result. Talk to them about it. Our next thing is to report. Like I said, make sure you tell somebody. Report it to your manager if you have one, or like I said, talk to the Safeguarding Adults team. I'll give you their contact details in a few minutes. Because the role of the safeguarding team is to decide if any further action is taken, and if action is needed, what that's going to look like. And they may ask you as a result of that conversation to complete a safeguarding concerns form, and they will be able to guide you to where you can find that form. And my final R is your responsibility. Know what your own responsibilities are as safeguarding adults. And I would really recommend that after this film you go and have a look at your organisation's own safeguarding adults policy, because within that policy that will tell you what your responsibilities are. So how are we going to raise that concern? My key message today is if you see something you're not sure about, you're concerned about, you're worried, doesn't feel quite right, make sure you tell somebody and write it down. Inform your manager or the person in charge as soon as practically possible. All concerns, safeguarding concerns, get reported to South Gloucestershire Council, and they have their first contact team. So that's the person you would talk to first off, give them the initial information, and then looking at how we decide on what action needs to be taken. But if you think a criminal act's suspected, you can report it to the police. Again, if it's an emergency, please do call 999. But if not, you can use the non-emergency police contact number. If you're not sure whether a concern is a crime or needs to be reported to safeguarding, again, don't worry too much about it. Just make sure you tell somebody and get it written down. The local authority safeguarding teams and the police work really closely together. So if you were to report it to the police, and after the police did their initial investigation, they found that a crime hadn't been committed but there was still an adult at risk, the police will then report it on to the local authority and vice versa. The important message there is make sure you tell somebody and you write it down. So behind me here are the contact numbers for you to call if you've got safeguarding concern. The important one up there for you is the first contact team. They work Monday to Friday, in office hours. Out of hours, weekends, bank holidays, evenings, there's an emergency duty team, and again the numbers there behind me for you to use. But please be aware that this is quite a small team, and they cover South Gloucestershire, North Somerset and Bristol local authorities. And if they have concerns come into them, what they tend to do is leave it to go onto an answer phone and then pick up those calls in the time order. So if you do use this number and you get through to an answer phone, I really do encourage you to leave a message, because they will get back to you. If you are speaking to the emergency duty team, take their number and make a note of the time and the date that you spoke to them. And then when you work next in working hours, it's wise just to contact the first contact team and let them know that you raised that concern with the emergency duty team during an evening or a weekend, for example. And then the South Gloucestershire's safeguarding team can follow that up for you. So earlier on I talked to you about the multi-agency safeguarding adults policy and the Safeguarding Adults Guide for people raising safeguarding concerns. You can find both these documents on South Gloucestershire's Safeguarding Adults Board website, and I've put the website address up here for you. Again, I'd really encourage you to go and have a look at this website. So there's lots of resources and information there to support you in your safeguarding adults practice. So thank you so much for listening to me today, and I really look forward to seeing you on the Raising Safeguarding Concerns training. If you haven't already booked yourself on training, behind me is the website, the Learning Development website, where you can book yourself onto the training. You can register and then book onto any training that South Gloucestershire Council offer for you as providers. So thank you for listening to me. I've left up here my email address and mobile telephone number. If you'd like to contact me, if you've got any queries about this film, please do contact me. And I really look forward to seeing you again soon. Thanks for listening. Bye.